Should you sell your current home or should you rent it out? This is a question I get asked on a weekly basis at this point. And the ultimate decision usually comes down to a more emotional one or logistic one than it does a financial one. But let me walk you through the steps and the questions that you should ask to determine whether selling or holding on to it and renting it out is best for you. So step one is just financially, is it possible? And your lender is going to be your best guide to answer this question. So you're looking to purchase a new home, you've got an existing home. Hey lender, can I even afford to purchase another home while retaining this one? For most people, if you do that, you're gonna have to provide the lender with an actual lease on your home showing that somebody is going to be at least covering your mortgage payment. In most states, that mortgage payment is going to count as income, qualifying income, so you can purchase another home. So that's your first question is, hey lender, can I even afford to do this? The next question is a much more personal one is, do I want to do this? So the logistics of renting out your home, especially if it's in the same metro area, but even if it's states away, I've done this personally, as long as you pick a good and responsible tenant, the logistics of it, the amount of calls you field on a yearly basis are almost nothing. I can count on one hand, in most cases, the calls that I would receive in a year. And half of them have to do with, hey, I got mail that's addressed to you. What do you want me to do with it? I mean, it's not exactly like the sky is falling or anything. So the logistics of it are far different than what I think the image that people have in their mind of, hey, somebody's going to be calling me every week, you know, something's going to be breaking, a toilet's going to be clogged. And, you know, in real life, that's just not been my experience with very, very, very few exceptions. And that was before I learned how to properly vet tenants. So the logistics side of things for me, for someone who's been through it before, seem pretty low, pretty easy to deal with. But at the same time, there's a large chunk of you guys out there who just don't want that responsibility on your plate. So even if you can't afford it, the question of do I want to do this is often one that makes the decision right there. So do you want to be a landlord? And a great resource for this, just to learn from other landlords in your own metro area, is a website called biggerpockets.com. And it is the best, has been the best free resource for real estate investment in over a decade now. I've been involved in that website for about 15 years. It has been, especially the forums, which have specific forums for each metro area, each state, so you can connect with other investors, you can get great advice, you can get great insights there for free. It's a great website, great tool that I highly recommend. But educating yourself on so you can determine whether or not the idea of being a landlord is right for you is for sure a big step. But let's say those first two questions are yes. Lender says yes, you can qualify for another mortgage. You do feel comfortable with being a landlord. So then it becomes, okay, what is the financial benefit to this? Because there is going to be some work involved, right? There's going to be some logistics involved, some vacancy involved, an amount of capital expenses that are going to come out of your pocket to properly maintain any home, right? You live in it. You know that occasionally something will break, occasionally something will need touching up. So you need to make sure that if you're holding on to this, it is going to financially benefit you in the future and along the way. So the first step is cash flow. How do we determine cash flow? It's very straightforward. What are your total monthly expenses on it, your PITI payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, your total monthly expenses on that property, and what can it rent out for? Now, let's say you've got a property that your total monthly expenses are $2,500 and rents for similar houses in the neighborhood are $2,500. A lot of people would look at that and say, if I'm breaking even every month, if there's anything that breaks, I would actually lose money, so why would I do that? And that makes no sense. Well, it may or it may not. One, keep in mind the tax advantages. You get to write off deductions on that rental property. You've got depreciation, you've got the interest on the mortgage interest that you're paying. You have multiple deductions that you can take to lower your taxable income, so that in that aspect it will make you an amount of money at the end of the year. But even if that amount is negligible, you could realize a benefit in the equity accrual. Is your neighborhood appreciating well? Is it a neighborhood that is desirable? Is a neighborhood that property values are increasing? And do you feel, because no one knows the future, right? Do you feel that property values will continue to increase? If the answer is yes, then even if you're breaking even, then it may still be a yes, because you're going to capture that appreciation with tenants paying for your expenses, so you hold on to an appreciating asset essentially for free. So in that instance, it may not look great on the surface on paper, but in the long term, it could really benefit you. Now, best case scenario obviously is cash flow. You have a property that is in a good neighborhood that's appreciating, that you feel it will continue to appreciate, and you're making money every month on the income, on the rent to expense ratio. So if your margin is $200 a month or more, i.e. you're making at least $200 per month, that's a solid investment. And my best asset was making over $1,000 a month more than I was paying in expenses. And it was a very inexpensive condo, and even with the HOA fee, I was making about $1,000 every month on that one. So that was one that I still hold to this day, was a great acquisition, and has been a great moneymaker for me. So is holding on to a house as a rental instead of just selling it right for you? If you answer those questions, you should have your answer.